If your tubs keep stalling or barely fruiting, the problem isn't usually your spawn. It's this. Too wet and the mycelium suffocates. Too dry and everything aborts. This right here is called field capacity. And if you get it right, the rest of the grow gets easy. This part of mushroom growing was extremely scary when I was a beginner. I was warned about contamination at every single turn, and now I'm supposed to just open up my spawn jars, exposing them to fresh air, and mix it up with this Coco Coir stuff that's probably already dirty and contaminated. You're out of your mind. Or so I thought. I'm gonna dispel some beginner myths to put your mind at ease so we can turn this scary part of the grow into the easiest part of the grow. Because in reality, it is actually insanely simple and straightforward once you understand a few fundamental rules. So what exactly is Coco Coir and why do we use it? Coco Coir is basically just cleaned and shredded coconut husk. There are a couple more steps that go into processing it, so you get these nice condensed blocks, but that's really all it is. Now, Coco Coir is considered a non-nutritious substrate, which means it doesn't really add any nutrients to your mycelium, which is both good and bad. It's good because that means contamination has a harder time growing in it and taking hold. And I'll explain why it's bad in just a couple of minutes. Now, Coco Coir does two major things that gets us from grain spawn to mushrooms. First, it provides a light and airy structure so air can permeate all through the spawn and substrate. Remember, mycelium, just like us, need air to breathe and grow. If we use something as a substrate that were way too dense, then air wouldn't be able to properly flow and we would never get any mushrooms. Secondly, Coco Coir holds a ton of moisture and keeps that accessible for our mycelium to use. When our mycelium produces mushrooms, those mushrooms are 90 to 95% water. So without adequate water, we're gonna have small, undersized, or potentially no mushrooms. This is why getting our Coco Coir just right is so important. All right, that's enough of me blabbing. Without further ado, let's actually prepare our Coco Coir. Like I mentioned earlier, Coco Coir usually arrives in block form, but if yours is already loose from maybe a previous batch or something, this process will work exactly the same. When we create our grain spawn, we want 0 competing microbes, so we sterilize everything to create a blank slate. With Coco Coir, however, it's okay and actually preferred to leave some of that microbiome intact. So we don't want to sterilize our Coco Coir, we just want to pasteurize it. Think of pasteurization as like a less intense sterilization. When we perform pasteurization, we're going to kill most competing organisms while leaving some microorganisms behind to create a stable sort of micro environment. And leaving some of those microorganisms behind will actually help prevent contamination, believe it or not. Think of pasteurization like removing weeds from a field, and sterilization is just like burning the entire field. Now, you might have heard of something called trichoderma. It's everywhere all around us. It's floating in the air, it's on you, it's on me right now. Trichoderma is one of the most common contaminants that ruin people's mushroom grows. Now, some Coco Coir can carry trichoderma, but rest assured, pasteurization will render that trichoderma completely harmless. So if you follow these steps, you're gonna be okay. Now, to pasteurize this, we're gonna need a container that can hold heat. I'm using my pressure cooker because it has thick walls, but a 5-gallon bucket or a plastic tote will work just fine too. We'll just need to insulate it in some way, usually with like a heavy blanket or a towel. So to get this thing started, I'm gonna toss my brick inside my pressure cooker and I'm gonna start boiling some water. Each one of these bricks is 1.4 pounds, and for each 1.4 pound brick, we're gonna use 10 cups of hot water. For those on the metric system, that's gonna be 2.4 liters, or if you're weighing it out on your food scale, you're gonna wanna weigh out 2,400 grams. Now, once the water is boiling, we're gonna pour it over the brick, seal the container, and let it sit for at least 2 hours. I've been known to let mine sit overnight, but 2 hours will do the trick. When you open it, fluff and mix everything to spread the moisture evenly. Be careful not to burn yourself here. You want to make sure it's cool enough to handle before you stick your hand in there to start mixing anything up. And I'm actually wearing gloves here not to protect the Coco Coir from contaminants, but to protect my fingernails from having Coco Coir under them for the next 2 weeks. Now, this is the most important part of the entire video. If you only remember one thing, remember this next part: field capacity. Field capacity is basically how hydrated is your Coco Coir, and it's important to get this just right. To test for proper hydration, we want to grab a handful of Coco Coir and squeeze it firmly. When we squeeze it, we should see a couple drops of water come out. Not a steady stream, not nothing, a few drops. That's perfect. If you squeeze and nothing comes out, it means your Coco Coir is too dry. Add water slowly, mix it all up, and squeeze and retest. If you squeeze and water comes out in a stream, it's too wet. In my experience, too wet is way worse than too dry. Coco Coir that's too wet is gonna push oxygen away, it's gonna slow mycelial growth, and it's gonna invite contamination. Unfortunately, fixing wet coir is more of a pain than fixing dry coir, which is why I say lean towards too dry, because we can always just add more water. Fixing Coco Coir that's too wet can be done by adding some vermiculite if you have it. Just sprinkle it in there and it's gonna help soak up some of that water. The second option is just throwing in some paper towels, mix them all throughout, and they'll help suck up some of that moisture, and then obviously just pull them out and throw them away. And the third option is maybe the most simple, but also the most painstaking, and that's gonna be just grabbing handful by handful, squeezing all the excess water out that you can, and then adding that now squeezed Coco Coir into your monotub. It works, but it's annoying. And if you're wondering about timing, you don't have to use your Coco Coir immediately after pasteurization. If you use it that same day or really within 24 hours, you're gonna be just fine. So now with our Coco Coir pasteurized and cooled to room temperature, we're gonna go ahead and mix it up with our grain spawn. Just a reminder here, guys, uncolonized grain spawn is the worst thing you can add to your monotub. So if any of your grains look like they're even potentially uncolonized, just give them a couple more days before you do this step, because those uncolonized grain spawn are almost guaranteed to cause contamination. Now right here, I like to work in 2 parts grain spawn to 3 parts Coco Coir, or a 1 to 1.5 ratio. Now here I'm gonna select my monotub size based on what's gonna allow me to create a substrate that's about 2 to 4 inches deep, as that's where I've had my most successful grows. So mix everything thoroughly and gently level it out. Once everything is mixed up, I'm just gonna take another handful of Coco Coir and lay it out over the top of the monotub just to ensure every single grain is completely covered. This is what's known as a casing layer. This little layer helps protect all the grains, maintain surface moisture, and create even pinning. And you don't really need to pack it too densely here, just a nice little firm pat is sufficient. After this, just close your tub and leave it alone. In a week or two, the entire thing is gonna turn white, and then you can introduce fruiting conditions. Now, one quick clarification before we wrap things up. Remember how I said Coco Coir isn't nutritious, and that's kind of a bad thing? It's bad because when using Coco Coir, all the nutrition for your mycelium has to come from the spawn. Once the nutrients from your spawn run out, you're not gonna have any more mushrooms. That's why grain spawn really limits the yield of your grows here. If you want to produce more mushrooms, the only way to do it is adding more spawn. No amount of adding additional Coco Coir will do it. And that's hugely different from something like reishi or lion's mane, where their substrate plays a tremendous role in producing the fruits. With Coco Coir, however, the job is just to maintain the environment, not to give the mycelium any food. And that's another reason I don't think beginners need to stress about vermiculite or gypsum. These are a couple ingredients that some people insist you add to your substrate, but I've had my most successful grows with just 100% Coco Coir and the grain spawn. Those are just small little optimizations or tweaks if you wanted to get fancy. I personally like keeping things simple. For beginners, clean spawn, correct field capacity, a healthy spawn to substrate ratio, proper substrate depth, and patience is all you really need for a successful grow. So just to run back through it one more time as a final checklist, pasteurize your Coco Coir for a couple of hours, let it cool to room temperature, perform your squeeze test and make sure you're getting just a few drops, mix a 1 to 1.5 spawn to Coco Coir ratio, fill your substrate about 2 to 4 inches in depth, add a light casing layer over the top, and close the tub and wait. At this point, your monotub just needs some time. Air exchange and fruiting conditions will come later, and I'll cover that in a separate video. And that's it. You've just completed one of the most feared steps in the mushroom growing process, the spawn to bulk transfer. Good work there, you nerd. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and happy growing.